You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Matt Lazowitz, and welcome to this week's episode of BatChat with Matt and Will, a Batman ranking podcast, where each week my co-host Will Nevin and I dig into 3 Batman stories, discuss them, and rank them on the big board, thus creating a giant list of Batman stories from best to worst. Will, how's it going tonight?
Oh, it's going pretty good, man. I got a belly full of, I guess it was okay barbecue. The brisket was good. The sausage was a little too weird. Had little cheese bits put into it. It was like Cajun sausage or something. Just want a regular barbecue sausage. Don't need nothing. Sides weren't anything to write home about. But the brisket was pretty good. Before we get into BatChat movie chat, I want to ask you this. It's been a long season at the movies. Is there any trailer that you're absolutely sick of seeing?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think if there are any now. I know there were some, and I'm trying to remember what they were. Because I think most of them have cycled through at this point.
There's one upcoming that I feel like I'm almost physically groaning whenever it comes up.
Which one?
Roofman.
Well, that's this week, so you're just about through with that one.
Thank God I made it. I made it. It's been a long summer seeing that goddamn trailer.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what ones, whatever you say about the movie Mission Impossible, because that got pushed back. That trailer was just there for fucking ever. There aren't a ton right now. I can't think of any right now, but yeah, Roofman's been there for quite a while. They started pushing that one early.
Do you think they're looking for awards? Is that what it is?
I don't think so. It doesn't look like an awards movie. I'll see pretty much anything with Peter Dinklage. I mean, I saw Toxic Avengers, for fuck's sake.
Hey, not that bad.
No, it wasn't. And Channing Tatum can be fun. He's not a bad actor. He's kind of hammy, but I'm okay with that. But yeah, I mean, and there's not much out this week. I'm sorry. There's too much Jared Leto for in Tron Legacy. I can't. Not Tron Legacy, Tron Ares, excuse me.
The headline I saw, year's best soundtrack on year's worst movie.
Oh yeah, I think I'm good on not doing this one. For once, I will be skipping the IMAX this weekend / Dolby. I guess 2 weeks in a row because I did not see Taylor Swift on. Not only would I have probably not gone to see it one way or the other, but it was not accessible with my A-list. I ain't paying for that. I ain't paying for anything.
Haven't talked about the past week's movies, but I'm really tempted to see Battle Royale. I think that would be a good time in theaters.
Yeah, I think it would.
But it doesn't start until Sunday, and I don't like that.
I have Monday off for Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh,
and also it's my birthday, so I get
happy early birthday.
Thank you, sir. How was your birthday? I don't think we were not recording, and I never asked. How was your birthday?
It was good. We went up to a local race where the idea was that you had an hour to do as many laps on this half-mile track as you could. For each lap, you got a card, and then at the end, you made your best 5-card poker hand. So it was kind of like real world Balatro without jokers. But mi compadre Will slipped me an ace, and I got 3rd place best hand.
Very nice.
Yeah. Aces and sevens, full house. Lots of honest poker players, not a lot of cheating up there. It was nice to see, although I did cheat. I got in, oh shit. I think it was 11 good laps and then 1 lap where we just kind of shuffled to the end. So that would be 12 laps.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
And especially it was end of September, middle of the day, southern Tennessee, very warm, very sunny, unpleasant.
Sounds like it would be.
Oh, and then before that, before I went out and ran almost 6 miles, I had a big old cheeseburger covered in country gravy.
Hell's bells.
Yeah, that was enhancing the difficulty. But
little
no,
bit.
had a good time. BatChat movie chat proper. Smashing machine.
I thought the performances were very good.
Yes.
I thought the way it was put together visually was generally pretty good. I thought
Narratively puzzling choices.
yes, and just I won't say the script didn't do much because the script in certain places was very good, but I don't particularly care about UFC, and it didn't do enough to make me care about the sport.
Yeah, and in many ways, I don't think it could decide what it wanted to be. Because if you follow the subtext, this is a story about a very sweet, well-meaning man in a toxic relationship. And the text at the end, not the subtext, the actual text, he says, "Oh, well, he was a pioneer of the sport." It feels like somebody sat down and made this movie with the idea of, oh, I think Conor McGregor is a shithead and he should be thankful of all the people who came before him who toiled away in relative obscurity. But it didn't do enough narratively to educate me on, oh, Mark Kerr was really good at what he did, or Mark Kerr was somebody worth remembering. Like he loses his biggest fights in this chunk of his life. And the movie to me feels more about what it is to be trapped in a toxic relationship. But the narrative climax of the movie is once again him losing his biggest fight. And then the toxic relationship is paid off in the on screen postscript. None of these choices work well together. It's very puzzling.
The stuff with Kerr and his girlfriend are the most dynamic, most tense parts of the movie. It's way more tense watching them than it is watching the fights.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And credit to DJ and to Emily Blunt, they were both excellent. The movie itself was kind of meh around really good performances.
Yeah. That could have used a redraft, a second draft, a third draft.
But for whatever sort of middling to okay Smashing Machine was, one battle after another was friggin' brilliant.
Oh, yes, that's right. We talked about it at the staff meeting, but we didn't actually talk about it on the show. Yeah, that was amazing.
I did not think I would see another movie this year that would hit me as hard as Sinners did. And in a very different way, but this one also hit me really friggin' hard in a good way.
Just a masterful blend of satire, both as comedy and as just dark awfulness. Sean Penn, I think, gives the performance of a lifetime.
Sean Penn, absolutely, but was really impressed by Chase Infinity, who was the daughter. This is her first major role.
That's pretty good.
The only credit she has before this was as Jake Gyllenhaal's daughter in the TV adaptation of Presumed Innocent from a couple years ago.
Yeah, didn't nobody watch that?
No, I was blown away by how good she was. And I love Leonardo DiCaprio's dumb schlub phase that he's in now between Killers of the Flower Moon and this. Good for you, Leo. Not always going for the Jay Gatsby's. I mean, hell, even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, sure, he's more handsome, but he's kind of a dumbass in that.
Yeah. I mean, he did do the whole pointing at the television meme.
There was so much, just so much in that movie, and it was funny. There were moments where I was cracking up, and not just Leo, although Leo, boy, was he funny. Jaw, and those names, the names of the characters, Colonel Lockjaw and Sensei Sergio St. Carlos. These are names either out of Doctor Strangelove or a Wes Anderson movie. Like there's some wild names.
This goes on a shelf very nicely next to Doctor Strangelove.
It really does. Although it is a much more hopeful movie in the end.
Well, the world doesn't explode, so
Right. But it is I feel like it is a movie that has hope embedded in it. That the next generation will be better. That what we get at the end with Willa taking on what her parents did, but going about it possibly better, is a really hopeful ending. And I liked that. That it would have been really easy to be very cynical, and it didn't go that way.
or for everybody to just give up.
Yeah, real good.
The Christmas Adventurers Club.
Oh my God. Friggin' and Sean Penn just how excited he was to finally be admitted just to get what's coming to him. Best bit of criticism I've heard, not criticisms in critical of the movie, but a comment about the movie. Fascists start working with other fascists, they will fuck your face.
Yeah.
Thank you. We hate movies. It was a great line. When
They always have a hierarchy, right? And either you fit in and advance the cause, or you get your face fucked.
yeah.
Everyone is disposable.
Yes.
And that's why we got to be better than them.
Yes, we do.
Now, to be clear, none of that when they go low, we go high nonsense. I just mean that we have to value everyone, except for the fascist, tolerance paradox and all.
Right. But this episode, it's funny, we were talking about movies, but other than Strangers, which I glossed over because it wasn't that great, was the only horror movie really amongst a lot. Which is funny because we are here, this episode will be dropping the day before Halloween.
Ooh, spooky.
And so, because it's Halloween week and Batman has a history of horror, as we have every year prior, we are doing a spooky horror themed episode. And this time, we're reading 3 stories of Batman fighting my favorite classic monster, the werewolf.
Although it's really like 1 and 3/4 stories, 2 and 1/3.
The first 2 are short and they are connected, but are not like a 2-parter because there's like 6 years in between them. Our first story of the night is Moon of the Wolf. This is Batman Volume 1, number 255. The writer is Len Wein, with pencils by Neil Adams, inks by Dick Giordano, no colorist or letterer is credited, and it is edited by Julius Schwartz. The cover date is April of 1974. A werewolf is loose in Gotham. Anthony Lupus has been turned thanks to an experiment by Professor Milo, and the sinister scientists will only give Lupus the cure if he completes a task first. Kill the Batman. Problematic creator watch, as ever, noted sexual harasser Julius Schwartz.
How many of the other Professor Milo stories have we read?
We have not read either of the ones referenced here.
Okay, good. I don't feel as bad.
He popped up during Eternal, the first Eternal, and he popped up in Gotham Academy Volume 1. But Milo is third-rate Batman mad scientist villain. I think more people know him from Batman the Animated Series and like the 2 or 3 episodes he's in there, and then his death in the DC Animated Universe in Justice League Unlimited than they do knowing him from a comic. Milo is a C-lister at best, and he meets a fairly ignominious fate in this story. I don't know if he stays dead in this timeline. I don't know if he ever comes back before, the Crisis would have rebooted him and brought him back. But nobody misses Professor Milo when he's dead.
What's he mad at Batman for?
He's a C-list supervillain that Batman defeated a couple times.
How dare he?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh no, now I must inflict my wrath on Batman by using a werewolf, whose last name is Lupus. It really couldn't be more on the tin.
Just a funny coincidence, really.
Although, as House MD has taught me, it's never lupus. So
Except when it is.
for this month's BatChat bonus episode, we will be covering the animated adaptation of this comic where they changed the name to Anthony Romulus, which not much better, but at
No,
least a
it's not.
little better than lupus.
We do still have to record that, right, Matt?
Yes, we do indeed have to record that at the time of this recording.
But you just promised the people that it was going to drop.
Podcast time. Podcast time, my friend.
If only you could just speak things into being.
It would make life so much easier. Bury me in money. No, still not working.
Damn it. But yeah, this is a fine little comic. You know, we got a werewolf, we got a mad scientist, Batman doing Batman stuff.
Neil Adams art, but the, of course, remarkably touched up Neil Adams art. So the colors are modern and vibrant, and there are panels in those retouched Adams books where I really would love to compare it to the original because like the backgrounds are all uniform and one color. I just wonder what the original background looked like on some of those panels.
And I really don't know what's going on with the colors in the next book, but we'll get there.
So this is one of these ones that's taking lycanthropy and treating it as medical condition. That Milo determined that Romulus had low-grade lycanthropy, and the only way to cure him was to make it full-blown lycanthropy and then give him the cure. But first, after he gives him the full-blown lycanthropy, he's like, you got to kill Batman before I do
You
that.
got to kill Batman, and then I'll take the werewolf out of you.
And is stupid enough to do the final sort of needling of him right before he changes. Dude, the wolf's gonna eat you.
I will say this for all of these stories tonight. Sure are a lot of full moons.
These are going by the sort of fudging full moon rule where it's the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after the full moon. It's not just the one night. But
Well, I mean,
still,
of course.
it's a lot. And we'll get into it with the last story, but someone doesn't know how long it takes to ride a cargo ship across the Atlantic Ocean.
No, that does take some time.
Lupus is not the most sympathetic character, but he's certainly not the least sympathetic character either. He's kind of a cocky SOB, decathlete who's loves, ladies and the money and the life, and then starts getting these headaches. But he's not a terribly shitty person until he becomes a werewolf.
Well, you know why anybody gets into the decathlon. It's for the money, Matt.
The first two stories tonight are fairly. This one is fairly point A to point B to point C. The next story is a little more convoluted. But this
And a
one,
lot more Alaskan.
yes. But this one is pretty straight ahead. Werewolf, Batman, there you go. Mad scientist somehow involved. It is funny to remember that in the Silver to Bronze Age, just how much older and statelier Jim Gordon is in his relationship with Batman, that Batman's calling him Sir. And we've observed this before with some of these stories, but we're not at that period of post year one where Bruce and Jim are more or less contemporaries. Jim is very much an elder in these type of stories.
That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And we'll talk a little more about Jim Gordon in the next one where he's not quite 66 Jim Gordon, but he has a moment in that next story where I'm like, really, Gordon?
And in the third story too. It's not a great night for Jim.
No. The fight at the end of this first story, where Batman and Lupus as a werewolf really go at it, is really good Neil Adams art. I really like Adams's werewolf design. He's the guy who designed Man-Bat. Animal-man hybrid creatures are a thing he does. But Batman there, having to pick a lock with his teeth and leading the werewolf up the building and impaling him on rebar, which is hardcore.
Pretty good.
But he himself's like, I thought he would try to avoid it, not run right into it. And then the werewolf getting struck by lightning because he was holding rebar. That's one of those moments where it reminds me of Arrested Development. Guy holds the rebar, gets shocked, his arm falls off, and that's why you don't play with rebar in a lightning storm. I'm finding very little to say about this story because of just how simple a story it is, which isn't to say that's bad. There's something nice about a fun little spooky Batman fights a werewolf story, but there's not a lot of deep analysis to be done with this story.
No, it's fun. And yeah, maybe that's it.
Maybe a short episode tonight. But we'll see as we go, because there is more to say about the other two stories. The other two stories are also longer than this. This is 16 pages. This is not a terribly long story. Here's a question. And I think we've had this discussion before, but it is something, because this was the first story in a 100-page issue. Would you rather get one story for $4.99, one full-length story, or get a slightly shorter main story, 2 or 3 backups for $6.99 using modern prices?
That's interesting, right? Because DC editorial in the last, we'll say 5 years, can't decide whether they want to have backups or whether they don't want to have backups. And there must be some calculation somewhere that encourages backups because you can presumably charge more and you can have customers who feel like they're getting more out of the story. I'll say this, serialized backups often don't work for me because I don't remember. I don't remember them from month to month. And DC is, as we've said any number of times, allergic to recap pages. If it's a one and done, I think I do like a backup story because it does give just kind of a full rounded sense to the book, which is why for a lot of reasons Ahoy is always a good, the Ahoy comics are always good because they always have backups, essays, little short bits, fun bits. But then also if it doesn't have a backup, it's not like I feel cheated. Fractions Batman is clearly not going to have backups. I don't feel robbed.
I like a book with a backup, but as you said, it's not like I feel robbed by it. But when a backup is done right, the way that the Dan Waters, Alex Packnadel, Cy Spurrier backups at the back of the Rom V detectives fleshed out the world that Rom V was building in Gotham at that point, I felt like that was a really good use of a backup.
Yeah.
That, you'd get, sometimes they'd be serialized, but it would be, 2 or 3 parts. It wasn't going to be a full through the entire run backup, but often it was just these little one-parters that would have, what's Cassandra Cain doing right now? Because we haven't seen her in a couple issues. Or remember Ten-Eyed Man? Here he is. Little things to introduce other characters that you haven't seen in a while that will come into play later. That's a good use of a backup.
I wonder how those are all collected in the trade.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the trade.
I'm gonna have to cover Romvi eventually, Matt.
Oh, I can't wait. But now I think we can move on.
Oh, that means it's time. But Batman, 2 double nickels, Moon of the Wolf on the big board.
We are at 627 stories on the big board.
God damn.
Number 1 is Post-Crisis Origin of Batman, Batman Year 1.
Still at a sexy 69, it's Catwoman, Selina's big score.
At 150 is My Own Worst Enemy, the Two-Face arc from All-Star Batman. At 300 is Mosaic, the 4th arc of No Man's Land.
Coming in real high, not nearly as close to the bottom as it once was, it's Batman Confidential, 26 to 28, A New Dawn, or King Tut's Tomb.
At 450 is Batman of All Nations, the first appearance of the group of characters that will go on to become the Club of Heroes and Batman Inc. And all the way at the bottom, it's 3 Jokers.
What a terrible story.
We're trifly. This
I'm
is probably story of the night.
Yeah, I think so. I think just to ballpark it, right? Ballpark it. This is like middle of Trifle Town. The next story is maybe to like the bottom of Trifle Town, and then the last story is like top of the dregs. Not problematic, but just like top of the, oh Lord, I just got to get through this. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm looking through right now. We have 11 Neil Adams stories on the big board. We're obviously not up near the top of those because that's Joker's Five-Way Revenge at 11. Then Demon's Quest at 59, Night of the Reaper at 72, Half an Evil at 161. We're getting closer with Secret of the Waiting Graves at 274, but it's still not going above that. And
At 350, we've got Batman and Robin, Court of Owls, Exquisite Dread. And I feel like 350 is a good sort of starting point.
and right below that is The Senator Has Been Shot, which is another Neil Adams drawn story. The
Ah.
first appearance of the Robin Hoodie goateed Green Arrow. More historically significant and probably a bit more fun.
375, Arkham Asylum, Living Hell.
When that one's cooking, it's better. But that one does have a couple of problematic beats, but the story itself is too good to drop in the dregs of the problematic areas. But it might be right around there. So 378 is Redemption Road, that 6-issue Cassandra Cain miniseries where she's hunting David Cain and Deathstroke. I
Your favorite
could
character, right, man?
love him. I could probably put it above that. Above that is Clay, that two-part origin of the Matt Hagen Clayface from Legends of the Dark Knight.
I like New 378. That's good.
Okay, sounds good. Our next story is Werewolf Moon. This is Detective Comics Volume 1, number 505. The writer is Jerry Conway, with pencils by Don Newton, inks by Dan Adkins, colors by Adrienne Roy, letters by Ben Oda, and edited by Dick Giordano and Carrie Burkett. The cover date is August of 1981. The only thing that can save the life of a young girl is a bone marrow transplant from her brother, the werewolf Anthony Lupus. Batman heads to Alaska to bring Lupus back and save his sister. But will Batman be able to stop the werewolf this time? So while the first werewolf story was very straightforward, this one is not. This one is convoluted.
I would say any story where the EPA gets involved is pretty convoluted.
I'm trying to decide if I think Ghostbusters is convoluted or not, because the EPA is there.
I know. It's pretty convoluted, Matt.
Tell them about the Twinkie. One of my top 10 movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
Seen that movie almost as many times as I've seen Batman 89. But yeah, this story, there's a lot going on here. And it really felt like Conway had read Moon of the Wolf, and it did have that little 2-panel epilogue at the end about Lupus hunting wolves up in Alaska. And Conway decided to do a whole story about Lupus up in Alaska. Then ran out of pages because the ending on this is really abrupt. And just to make a point, Anthony Lupus never appears again.
No, why would he?
A couple of like cameos in some stuff, but these are the only 2 Anthony Lupus stories. I guess Batman found a cure for werewolfism in this world. But again, it's not werewolfism in the magic sense, it's werewolfism in the science sense.
I'm having a vision, Matt. I'm having a vision. Grant Morrison is sitting down at their computer writing Batman Deadpool, and they're looking for a reason to bring Deadpool into the DC universe, and it's Anthony Lupus and the cure for werewolfism.
If anyone could do it, it would be Grant Morrison.
Need that healing factor, baby.
There you go. This starts out with a convoluted plot with Anthony Lupus suddenly having a much younger sister who needs his bone marrow to help her beat leukemia. And when Batman says to Jim Gordon, but Lupus is dead, he was obliterated by that lightning strike. Gordon's like, no, he's not. I saw this newspaper article about him being up in Alaska a while back, but I didn't think it was relevant for me to mention it to you. Dude was a werewolf who tried to kill him. Strikes me as relevant.
Nah. Look, Batman has got a lot on his plate. You don't want to put stuff on there that doesn't need to be there.
Fair? Bruce goes up to Alaska, and then we get this. I don't know where Jerry Conway stands morally on the oil industry and the EPA. Because the oil guy seems like a scumbag in his brief appearance, but the EPA guy's kind of an ass. And Batman sure is kind of snarky in his head about this guy. Boy, he seems to care more about nature than he does about people.
And then he just pieces out. I'm gone. I'm see ya. Good luck.
Here's the question.
The question.
You get to the end
But
of
not
this.
not the question.
Not the question. You get to the end of this, and Batman has costumed up to fight Lupus, but he was dropped off as Bruce Wayne. So when the helicopter comes back to pick him up, does he stay in the Batman costume? And thus Clayton, the EPA guy, knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Or does he take off the costume and Lupus knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne? Because somebody is going to come out of this knowing that Batman is Bruce Wayne, which might explain why Anthony Lupus never appears again. Because, as we know, if you learn the secret and you're not a super person, you wind up dead.
If I read that correctly, too, at the end, doesn't Lupus spend like an entire day just caged up,
Yep,
netted up
in a silver-lined net for an entire day and night, for an entire, like half of a night, the entire rest of the day, and then the entire night.
hanging out with Batman in a net?
Batman says he has 72 hours to get Lupus back to save his sister. If it's the end of the third day, or sometime in the third day when he's in Alaska, and he's got to go all the way to Gotham, an Alaska to Gotham flight has got to be 6-7 hours.
That's going to be funny to some listeners out there. The kids have a new meme.
Okay, I don't do memes, so I'm just trying to see Anchorage to New York, and I don't know how long that flight would be.
Well, okay, so here's what happened.
9 to 10 hour flight.
In that entire day where Lupus is just hanging out in the net, Batman gets the bone marrow and then just sends it off in a bat drone.
Sure. Uses the Justice League teleporter to boom tube the bone marrow. There you go. That explains it. Not that Batman took too much time and now there's a dead girl in Gotham.
Well, all you have to really do is just yell Superman, right? And he'll come give you a hand.
That would make everything so much easier in the long run, wouldn't it?
He's listening.
True. Batman is pretty accepting of werewolves in this story. He's just like, yeah, there's werewolves. Okay.
Well, I mean, he's seen one.
Hmm.
The story had several weird choices that didn't need to be there, but were entertainingly weird.
There's a whole bit of narration towards the end about Batman and the werewolf being opposite poles of chaos and order, and they circle a nucleus. Let's call it the human soul.
We're just getting started on the over narration.
Oh, brother, are we ever. We get progressively more flowery and overwrought as the stories commence tonight.
Yes.
We also got a fun moment at the beginning that has nothing to do with the werewolf stuff, but is a plot line that's running through the Bat books at this point, where Arthur Reeves, sleazy politician, shows up and Batman shoves him. And it's satisfying, even if it does get Batman into trouble. I also was a little scratching my head about Batman's logic of, let me run and climb on top of the pipeline because the metal up there, my boots will hold better than Lupus's bare feet. Wouldn't he have claws that could, dig in?
You'd think so.
I,
But maybe Batman has like his bat spikes.
as long as they're not the bat skates from Batman and Robin, that's fine.
Goof.
I kind of feel like, well, this is not a bad story. It feels like an unnecessary sequel.
Yeah. I mean, we
I
don't really learn anything about Lupus. There's no sense that we had anything open after the last story, really.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like it's there. It's not terribly memorable. Again, it's not bad. The Don Newton art is good. The Jerry Conway script isn't bad, but it feels like both of those creators are doing sort of a middling version of what we got in the previous story. And neither story makes Lupus a particularly engaging character. He's very stereotypical person cursed with lycanthropy. Oh, woe is me, I'm a werewolf. Which is sort of the point of the werewolf narrative. While in modern times, since Interview with the Vampire, we've gotten the tragic vampire as a narrative trope. Before that, vampires were just horny blood monsters. That's what they were. Vampires are about sex, and that's what it was. And they didn't tend to be regretful or mournful. They were soulless blood drinking machines. Werewolves were the ones who were broken up about being a monster because they were human 30-ish days out of the month and 27-ish nights out of the month. It's just those 3 nights a month where it really sucks, and you come back from that and you remember. Or even if you don't remember, you can find out what you did.
There's got to be a way around this, though. To just get locked into a shed for a few days.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's how it usually is. You get yourself tied up, chained up, locked up, and you make it out. But usually the werewolf tries to escape because the werewolf doesn't want to be locked up. It wants to,
Feed.
yes, ravage. As we will see in the next story, where also the werewolf seems to be superhumanly powerful and nothing will hold it back. But that does not seem to be the case here.
Not bad, but weird.
Yeah.
Oh, that means it's time. But Detective Comics 505 Werewolf Moon on the big board.
So if Moon of the Wolf is 378, we're probably somewhere firmly in the low 400s. There's an area there starting at around 500 that is a lot of pretty forgettable stuff. Even like the 470s down to the upper 500s are a lot of that is just kind of there.
Batman Nosferatu at 500.
All right, I'm going to give you a number.
Oh, you gonna give me a number?
I'm going to give you a number.
Give me a number.
New 503. Because the ones above that are some fun Bill Finger, late golden, early silver age trifles that I enjoyed more than this, but I know your feelings about Bouncing Baby Boy. I think
Fucking Plastic Man.
he is your Deathstroke.
He is my Deathstroke. God help us if we got to read a story with both of those guys.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
If you know one, join the Patreon.
Make us both suffer, as long as Batman's in it. And our final story of the night is Full Moon. This is Batman Full Moon numbers 1 to 4. The writer is Rodney Barnes. with art and colors by Stefan Subic, letters by Russ Wooten, and edited by Chris Conroy and Matthew Levine. The cover dates are December of 2024 to May of 2025. Cursed with lycanthropy, Christian Talbot came to Gotham looking for a cure. After escaping Wayne Pharmaceuticals, Talbot fought with and bit Batman, spreading the curse to the Dark Knight. Now, with the aid of Man-Bat, Zatanna, and John Constantine, Batman must stop Talbot and find a cure for himself before he goes too far under the curse of the full moon. This story has a lot of ideas, and I don't think a single one of those ideas gets anywhere near enough time before it moves on to the next idea and forgets the previous idea.
So let's see. Bruce and Zatanna dating. That's an idea.
Yep.
The werewolf finding sanctuary with the downtrodden and being protected by them.
Yep. Batman the werewolf, dealing with that, dealing with Langstrom and Constantine and Gordon and all of these other characters. Jim Gordon seems to kind of pop in to show his ass and then shuffle away until he has to show his ass again.
And how many times between Constantine and Gordon do we get some kind of bit of, it sure was funny that that other werewolf was in a bat costume. Ain't that weird?
Yeah, they both say that a lot. And the suspicion cast on Wayne Pharmaceuticals doesn't really go anywhere. There's just a lot packed into 4 issues that felt a lot like we've seen with other more indie creators who get a shot at doing a Batman story and feel like they need to squeeze everything they've ever wanted to do into the one Batman story.
Another idea that doesn't really particularly go anywhere. Talbot having that heel turn and then just relishing being a werewolf before he dies.
For 2/3 of an issue.
Yeah.
Rodney Barnes has written some really good horror comics. His Image series, Philadelphia, really good vampire comic. He's written some fun Star Wars comics too. But I just felt like there was way too much going on here, and the massive amounts of over narration in this book. Each of these issues opens with some big flowery something, whether it's Talbot thinking about rage or Batman thinking about his trauma or Constantine reveling in being a monster slayer, but then going on about how he does feel sympathy for the lycanthrope. It's a whole lot.
A lot of the dialogue feels off.
There's a lot of barbs at Bruce for being rich. I mean, like from Constantine, it's one thing that makes sense. That's very much in his character. But Zatanna in the final issue making some similarly snide comment about how, not everyone can go through life as easy as you have it. She knows him. She knows all the shit he's been through. And making it seem like it would be easier to be a werewolf because he's rich. It struck me as a weird note.
He can pay for an extra nice werewolf bunker.
Sure, he can. And the name Christian Talbot, good lord, could there be a more on the nose name? Maybe Christian Lupus. But Christian with all of the stuff with the sister and the Christian ideology and all of that, and Talbot as in Lawrence Talbot, the classic Universal Wolfman. It could not have been a more on the nose name.
Yeah, if you know that those are things.
Okay, I guess it just struck me as a very on the nose name. It's the same thing that Amber always says when I get huffy about Jeopardy questions about. It's so obvious. She looks at me. It's obvious to you because you know it. You make a valid point.
Hey, look, Jeopardy when it's not, Tournament of Champions should be pretty easy. Otherwise it's not fun.
Now, we've seen this art from Stefan Subic before. He did that Riddler Year One miniseries with Paul Dano. What did you think about the art in this book or for this book?
We still have to cover that, don't we?
For the podcast? Yeah.
Oh, we need to get around to that. That book was good.
We'll do some other like movie tie-in or media tie-in and we'll do that at that point. Yeah.
Fucking Paul Dano being able to act and write comics, not fucking fair. Why you gotta be good at more than one thing? I did not care for the art here. Way too dark. Some panels I couldn't follow. I felt like a lot of the detail was obscured. Thematically, certainly I think it worked, right? A lot of black, a lot of gore, a lot of spooky, but I still want to be able to just be able to follow the story and clearly see the sequential art nature of it. So I don't think it worked on that level. I also didn't particularly care for the lettering. I didn't like it.
I feel like the art was at its best here when it was doing big splash pages of werewolves looking really cool.
Yeah, and hey, if you're gonna do a book about werewolves, you got to be able to do that.
I always get a chuckle out of artists drawing Kirk Langstrom and going back to that original Neil Adams. Oh, this is a guy in modern times who's walking around in a cape because he's got that cape here. It seems very out of place. Man-Bat looked very cool when he turned into Man-Bat.
Oh yeah, that was a good Man-Bat design.
I could not get over Alfred doesn't look anything like Alfred.
No, not a single thing. Look, that fun little actor who was just killed in a car accident a couple of years ago.
Not hitting me. But I mean, I know when Bruce first comes to after his fight with Talbot and Langstrom, Constantine, and as we learn, Alfred are standing over him. My notes initially are like Man-Bat, John Constantine, and some old guy, probably a scientist. And then he starts speaking. It's like, oh no, that's Alfred, who doesn't look like Alfred. He doesn't have the
Leslie Jordan, that's what I was looking
Oh
for.
yeah. Wow, yeah, I can absolutely see that.
Not that the artist was borrowing a face or something. God knows we've seen enough of that in comics. But just in kind of the vibes. He was more like a little elf.
Yeah. Wow, I now kind of wish I had seen a Leslie Jordan as Alfred project.
The sassiest of all Alfreds.
Yes. And there are a couple of ideas that are dropped towards the end here that I thought were setting something up and then don't do anything. That when Talbot is talking to the Roma fortune teller, and she basically tells him that the curse of the wolf is on you because of karmic balance, that you killed many people when you were a soldier, you took all these lives, and that is why the curse will stick to you. That struck me in my head as Bruce's way out of this is that Bruce remains something of an innocent in that sense, that Bruce has never taken a life. So there'll be a way out because he hasn't killed anyone and the curse won't stick or something. But no,
No, you gotta kill a guy. You
you
just
just
gotta
gotta
kill the guy you got it from.
kill the werewolf that made you a werewolf, and then you're not a werewolf anymore, which is often a cure. But you'd think he would have been a little more upset that Zatanna just stabbed a dude. But he wasn't. Again, if you're Bat Family or tangentially affiliated with the Bat Family, everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. Even
Oh,
Soups gets one.
and when you get to the very end and the final bits of narration about Bruce thinking that a lesson has been learned, that Batman is not infallible, but someone has been telling me that all along, and it's him and Zatanna. I don't think that was the lesson here.
No,
Where did that moral come from that Batman's not infallible? I don't think anyone was saying Batman was infallible at any point in this story.
that's some other draft.
Credit to Barnes for not using the Joker.
Hey,
That writer who gets the chance to write their one Batman story, how many times have we seen that where they find some way to shoehorn the Joker into that story?
man's like, look, I just want Bruce and Zatanna to bone. That's it.
And I will say again, one thing that I mentioned in the column that we did this, and it's one of those little artistic disconnects for me. With Zatanna in the first issue, when Bruce is contacting her to say that he won't make their dinner, and her kind of humphing about the new outfit she bought. And she's at this high class Gotham restaurant. It's a belly shirt and ripped jeans.
It looked like a diner to me. Did it come off as high class to you?
Maybe I might be misremembering, or I just remember it bugging me. I now have to go back and look because I might be wrong on this one.
But yeah, that outfit did not work for wherever they were at.
I felt like Barnes wrote the line and Savick had just drawn what he drew and just they didn't feel like altering the dialogue or something. It also bugged me that Batman is chasing the werewolf in Kane Park. It's Robinson Park. I mean, yes, I'm sure there are more parks in Gotham than one. No, where they meet for coffee is a diner. But when you see her, it looks like the waiter seems to be in more formal dress. Here, I'm going to just show you what the page I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Like, look at that. That waiter looks
Ooh,
like
we're doing screen sharing.
he's got, there's piping on the pants, and that looks like a full view of the city. It looks like a penthouse sort of restaurant, like top of a building sort of restaurant.
See, and this is what I'm talking about with the details being obscured. I didn't spend a lot of time on that page, and that just had diner vibes to me. But if
And
you slow down and you actually study this and not study the belly whatever is right next to her and the flip-flops, whatever kind of shoes those are.
she looks
Um,
like a character out of Sam Keith's The Max. For those of you out there who are familiar with The Max, like the belly and the ripped jeans and the proportions, I don't think this guy's in the same school as Keith, but that sketchy, sort of weird art is a very Sam Keith thing. Have we done any Sam Keith? Because that one Penguin short story, there's more Sam Keith Batman out there.
I think I put it on the
Yeah.
bookshelf episodes.
Yes, we have one more. There's definitely one of those Keith stories in one of your bookshelf episodes, but I have to get that book out of my own collection because it is not readily available anywhere else.
It is difficult. And just looking at those panels we just looked at, it is difficult to tell whether it's day or night. And if I have to really sit and think about whether it's day or night, we've lost the thread.
Yeah. So I have one final question.
One final question.
Alfred at one point says that The Howling is one of his favorite movies. Will, have you seen The Howling?
I have not seen The Howling, Matt.
Will, you would appreciate The Howling,
I would
especially
appreciate The
the end
Howling.
of The Howling.
Ooh.
The end of The Howling was a weirdly, I would say weirdly prescient, but I think it had its moment. It was important for its moment, but is even more important now. It's a pretty good werewolf movie. And I need to see the rest in the series, although they're all fairly loosely connected. It is an enjoyable werewolf film, and the end has some media commentary that is pretty fun. Should be streaming somewhere where you can access it easily enough.
Oh, it's Prime for
Okay.
yeah, for still four more hours. 4K Blu-ray, $20.
All right. So something to think about because I think that there's some stuff there that you would appreciate.
Okay, hey, that's good enough for me. I can pick it and Sinners Up, and they will be here, I think, by Friday. Is that what you told me? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got my Sinners a little bit ago. Good special features. All right, we're talking about DVDs and Blu-rays and 4Ks, so let's put this one to bed, shall we?
Oh, that means it's time. But Batman Full Moon on the big board. I will give you a floor. I'm gonna
Okay.
give you a floor. Grim Knight at 525.
Okay. I'm good with that as the floor.
Much past that, and it's stuff that I think is personally just dreadful.
For me, it's a little bit lower than that where it gets truly dreadful. No, see, I find the dreadful starts around the 560s. There's Silver Age and Golden Age and Silver Age stuff in there below that I think is some pretty good stuff. The first Monk story, the first Appearance of Poison Ivy, the first Mr. Freeze. They're not great, but they have their charm to it. But I still think I would definitely think that this is trying harder than Grim Knight.
Yeah.
Time to Monkey Shine at 515. The Jackanapes story that went off with Jackanapes. Joker had an abusive aunt and is having nightmares about his abusive aunt. Raises an ape, lets it blow itself up.
You know my only stance on jackanapes.
The only good Jackanapes story is those backups in the Rosenberg Joker.
Yes, and then we got to cover those.
Yeah, because any other Jackanapes story is he's inconsequential to that story.
We're gonna have to do an episode of just stories Will wants to cover.
Put some together and we'll work on that.
But yes, the business at hand. If this, I think, had been 5 issues, I would have really hated it.
With what it had, it either needed to be 5 issues and it needed to better play with the ideas that it had, or it should have been 3, and a lot of those extraneous plots should have been trimmed away. And it made a tighter 3 issues.
Like getting rid of the sister and the weird chorus of people around her that were always in the scene with her.
Yeah. And having that Leslie Tompkins-esque voice, but having it not be Leslie Tompkins so the werewolf could tear her arm off, sure. But her whole thing throughout the whole, no, he's really a good man underneath all of that, is then completely thrown out in the end where he's just like, yeah, fuck it, I want to be a monster and kill everybody.
Just some bizarre choices in this book. I'm talking myself down a little bit, I think, but I have a tough time putting anything below Catwoman Election Night at 543
That's when
because that was a truly stupid story.
That's when we're really starting to get into some meh stuff. The absolute dregs for me start at 569. Everything from 569 on down, with the exception of 1 or 2 things that need to be re-ranked, are all deeply flawed or deeply problematic.
Golden Dawn. Oh,
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep, that's where it really reaches the point of this is painful. I can see going below Grim Knight simply because the art in Grim Knight is better, cleaner. It makes more sense. Gods of Gotham at 535, that 4-parter in Wonder Woman, has a similar issue in that it is so dense, so much overwriting in that story. But the Phil Jimenez art is very nice. Okay, I'm going to move the floor up a few spots.
Okay.
539, President Batman, where Batman impersonates Obama.
That's pretty good.
It's goofy, and it's not done in any sort of malicious way, but it's like, really? Really? Batman uses an image inducer to look like the first African American president, even though it's not really Obama. It's obviously Obama because it came out right after Obama won the election. That's a little too close to Batman doing blackface. It's not entirely, but it's a little too close. I think we got to go above that.
How about we go right above that? The new 539.
Sure, sounds good. And that does it for tonight. Next week, Matt McThorne is back, revisiting one of his earlier appearances with 3 more stories featuring Catman and the Secret Six. Remember, you can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/batchat with Matt and Will, where you can get shoutouts, bonus content, pick a story, and even come on the show. We'd like to thank those Patreon backers: Dan Grote, Josh Wheel, Mrs. Abigail Hartbaum, Asma Fangirl, Tony Thornley,
Go Aggies.
Sam Hopper,
Go to bed, Sam.
John Wickham,
That fucking asshole.
Robert Secundus,
Put down the discourse, Bubby.
Tim Rooney, Giorgio Sorreggioli, David Wheel,
World's Greatest Gray Belt.
Alexander Wheel, Matt McThorne,
McThorny, love to see you next week, buddy.
Dan Offer,
Byerly Newer.
Nate Randell, Daniel Mosley, Ross Holmes,
Mr. Random Ace.
Will Crisp,
Me compadre.
Carlos Cordova, Jordan Jennings, and Charlie Etheridge Nunn for their support. This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music/Audible, YouTube Music, Podbean, and on comicsxf.com, where new episodes drop every Thursday. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I talk about comics and other random things, and Letterboxd, where I review all the movies I watch, both at MattLaz1013.
You can continue to find me, for some strange reason, on Twitter, at Will Nevin. Yeah, I'm gonna feed some cats. Then I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, Huntsville.
And be sure to visit ComicsXF at comicsxf.com or ComicsXF on Blue Sky for our weekly Friday BatChat roundup of new Bat books. For my other show, the ComicsXF Interview Podcast, where my longtime best friend Dan Grote and I interview comics creators, retailers, publishers, journalists, and other related tradespeople, as well as all the other stuff Will and I are writing. And stay safe out there, folks. Gotham is not a place to be after dark.